ideas too?
Yeah.
You know, it's got
Yeah.
or like guitar style.
I have not done that yet, but
It's pretty neat. How's everything been then?
changes.
Yeah.
All right. This is unexpected. How's it going?
It's going very well. Yes, we're here at Incubus HQ Live. There are guys in my band and some friends drawing on the giant canvas behind us.
So is this the last day?
This is the last day of our fun little experiment that we've been conducting here.
So I wasn't expecting to be on camera, so I think a lot of these people have already seen several days.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about what you've done here in the past week?
We have essentially converted what was going to be rehearsal time into us working out the kinks of our upcoming tour, which starts next week, in front of everybody.
Well, that's what I was going to say. One of the things that shocked me is you guys are doing a lot of the albums start to finish.
Yes. Tonight we're going to do our new record, If Not Now When, from front to back. And we will be rehearsing some of it in private after you and I are done talking, because it's still, like we recorded this record and we got good playing the songs, and then you start recording it, and then you'll leave certain songs, you finish them, and then you're like, don't listen to them for months.
Right.
And so you have to reacquaint yourselves, and some of the songs on the new record needed to be adapted.
Well, how about some of the older ones? You guys, did you rehearse them before you came back in?
A little bit, but what's interesting is a lot of the older music, when we start performing it, it acts a lot like muscle memory. It's kind of like riding a bike. You just have to remember, for me as a singer, I just had to remember what part of my face I sang that part into, and that kind of stuff. But it's been fun. It's actually a great way to learn, just by jumping into the deep end. So we've had, I think, about 100 people in here every night for the past week, just kind of all around us. And it's been really interesting watching people's reactions to the new music, to the old music, but then also watching how modern young people will be standing in front of something going on, like live music, and there's a camera in front of their face. Then they're watching through the camera. It's this weird, it's not that new, but it's kind of new phenomenon where it's they're not watching with their eyes anymore. They're watching, but it's through this filter. It's kind of an interesting
really
thing.
Interesting. So how did this idea come about?
Well, we knew we were having a new record coming out, and we knew that one of the necessary evils around putting a record out is letting people know that the record's coming out, so that you get into this idea of promoting the new record, which is usually that's when it's really the only time it feels like a job, is when you have to become a salesman temporarily, which none of us are very good at. So historically, we've gone around the world and just traveled relentlessly talking about it, answering the same questions over and over and over again, and which is great. We were totally used to that, but there was a big part of us that wanted to see if there was perhaps another way of letting people know we had a record. So we've been inviting a lot of our friends and enemies in the press here.
So you got to skip a lot of the traveling for that this time?
Yeah, and we'll still be doing promo things as we travel and as we tour starting next week. But as far as the lead up to the release of the record, almost all of it has happened here. And in the meantime, we've been able to do these live webcasts and rehearse, draw, get people to draw while we're playing, and get instant feedback through our Twitter feed on the wall there. It's really this kind of fun just experiment. I think it started with the idea of having a pop-up merchandise shop somewhere in Los Angeles, where we would maybe do some interviews there, but then it just sort of snowballed into what you're sitting in today.
So 6 years, right? You're on break?
It's been a little over 5 years since the release of the last album, but we've really effectively been on hiatus for about 2. So we were touring behind Like Grenades for a year and a half or so. Took a short break, did a greatest hits album, toured behind that in the summer, and then it's been maybe a little over 2 years that we've actually been on break. I did a solo record during that break. I did a couple of art shows. Michael went off to school for 2 of those years. Ben Kenny released a solo record. We've all been very busy.
Right.
not as much a break, just kind of like a stepping away from Incubus temporarily.
Now that Incubus is back, I mean, in a lot of ways, it seems like it's sort of a new era for you guys. Does that seem accurate?
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of that we needed to break away from it in order to perhaps better understand what it was that we had done after all this time, and by being able to understand that, potentially get an understanding of where we have yet to go.
So what did you come to understand?
That we have a lot of ground to still cover. I'll just speak for myself. I mean, I hope I'm speaking for the band when I say that. In certain ways, it feels like creatively, we've kind of just started to scratch the surface of what is possible and what's available to us creatively. The creative part being the most important part. I'm not sure what left there is as far as our goal orientations are to fulfill in our career. That's not really important for me to be thinking about those things. But creatively, as far as the songs that we make together and the things that we do, exactly. As far as the things we do as a band, there's so many places that we have left to go. No one's played on the moon yet. No one's played in zero gravity.
Getting close.
Yeah, some bands have played at the Pyramids of Giza, but we'd very much like to do that in the near future. There's so much to do. Awesome shoes, by the way.
Thank you.
Are those old or new?
They're new.
New?
They're a few months. I just wear them.
What kind of shoes are they?
I couldn't even tell you.
They look comfortable.
They were discount.
Nice.
So, and you guys discovered Twitter.
About 3 weeks ago.
It seems like, I've really obviously noticed a lot of new technologies coming into what you're doing, including this, obviously. But are you guys going to be doing anything else special around the tour or throughout the album cycle? I'm
sure we will. Specifically what? I couldn't tell you. I'm sure we'll be tweeting up the Twittersphere as we travel around the world playing music. We did a live webcast from Berlin a few weeks ago that was very successful. A lot of people tuned in to watch it. So there may be some of that stuff, because it's kind of amazing to know that you're like playing in front of thousands of people here, but then like tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people could be watching from the comfort of their home. It's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the album a little bit. You have favorite songs?
On the new record?
Yeah.
I do, but they change all the time. One of my favorites is a song called In the Company of Wolves. It's a very... What did we call it? What were the words we used for... Oh, Quiet Storm. We were kind of referencing the Quiet Storm in that song, which is kind of like a short-lived era in music.
I think that's also a skit on Saturday Night Live.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
The, what's his face? Ladies Man.
Oh, right.
Quiet Storm radio show.
Exactly. We were referencing that kind of thing on this song, and it's a fun exercise in exploring, the available space in a bass riff, or in, it turned out to be just this wildly visually evocative song that we really are very, very excited to bring to like big music venues with crazy lasers and animations. There's Ben Kenny with a giant. What is that? Ben just did his first. It wasn't like a variety show, was it? It was just like a.
It wasn't a lot of variety. It was just being a jackass.
It was Ben. It was the last sort of live random broadcast we did. It was just like an hour ago. It was called Not Now Ben. And he basically just sat himself in the middle of a bunch of people that were, from outside in here and just answered questions. And
Did any bass clinics?
did you do a bass clinic, Ben?
I just hung out, met people from all over the place. I just talked. And everybody was into it. And I tried to play one of my songs. Didn't really actually achieve that goal.
Ben, do you know Brandon? Brandon DeRoche?
Yeah, very good.
DeRoche. Okay.
I'm pumped to interview on camera. I want to ask you about. Can I ask you about something here, please?
Yeah,
Tomorrow's
please.
food. What does it mean to you?
I am directly quoting Ken Wilber from A Brief History of Everything, where he said, no epoch is finally privileged. We are all tomorrow's food. I'm paraphrasing, but that's a fascinating piece of modern philosophy. If anyone out there is interested, it resonated with me a couple of years ago when I read it, and I wrote that quote down, and just sort of being witness to the wild craziness of the, planet Earth at this moment in time, and the political discourse at play in America, overseas, in the Middle East, all of it. There's definitely there's always something in process, but this seems more like a shift than a process. There's almost like a paradigm shift at play, and there are a number of people who are fighting the shift. It's like they're trying to stop a sinking ship with oars or something, and it's an interesting part of the process because it's not abnormal for a group of people or a culture of people that have had a stronghold on the way things have worked for a long time. It's not unusual for them to want to fight for it. So in a lot of ways, it seems like the end of the world to a generation of people. To another generation of people, it seems like the beginning of their lives. And so really it's just, you can kind of recognize it's just a matter of perception about what's going on. And so in amongst that, I sort of found that quote, and I thought it was beautiful and poetic and eloquent, and I thought it deserved just highlighting. So we, wrote the song around that idea that there literally is no such thing as a privileged epoch, like a time when everything is exactly the way it should always remain. Things should always be in flux, always be changing, shifting. So
Love that.
that was a long answer. Sorry.
That was perfect. How's that playing into what you're doing with? What are you doing, or do you not know yet for Make Yourself on the next tour?
For the Make Yourself Foundation, we actually don't know specifically yet. We'll definitely be doing our normal fundraising activities through the eBay auctioned meet and greets and that kind of a thing. But we're going to cross that bridge when we get a little bit closer to it, as in like 10 days from now or so. There's so much going on right now around this world that we've created. And we're kind of just taking it one step at a time. But we'll very much be active with the Make Yourself Foundation over the next year and a half.
Very cool. I don't know how we're doing on time. All right.
Yeah.
For you, from Shane, 74.
All right, Shane.
Why do you look so scared they want
Well, all right, here's the deal. I was coming in to interview Brandon, and then right as I got in, they're like, you're going to be going live to the internet. So
It's almost like we're on some weird TV show right now, huh?
I do a lot of interviews, but I'm not I'm never like a TV personality. So it's like a big difference when you go into like actually being thrown in front of the camera when you're used to just having a one-on-one conversation.
I don't think you look scared. I think they're fucking with you.
I'm waiting for like the internet tomatoes to be thrown.
We're
good question,
we're
Shane.
safe. That's probably that's the next sort of technology to come out of the web, is a way to actually hurl vegetables and fruit.
Yeah, it's like not only am I doing it in front of a room with people that may or may not be paying attention, but also to the World Wide Web.
Right.
But all good. So do you guys, like in terms of American festivals, I'm curious if you think you're going to break into that scene more so. It's all right.
It landed well.
It landed very gracefully.
Is it still recording?
Yep, we're good.
You can just, thank you. Be gentle. American festivals. We've had our stints between the Ozfests and Area 1 and our Lollapalooza run that we did. It's interesting, though. They've the American festivals that are sort of like the the ones to play. You know, we don't have much of a relationship with them, and I've never really spent much time speculating as to why or why not. I know that I've never considered our band to be a band of the moment or a quote-unquote cool band. But truth be told, we've never strived to be that kind of band. We always wanted to be whatever band that we actually are. And sometimes we're fully aware of that, and other times it's in process and we don't really know. You know, I feel like it's just for the personality types that we are and that we are collectively as well. It's a little more interesting for us to just kind of do what we do, and if people like it, then that's awesome. And if they don't, okay, you know, no hard feelings. On the other hand, we do a lot of festivals overseas, Europe, UK. We're going to go do a festival in South Korea next week.
Philippines. What's
Philippines,
going on with that?
Japan, yeah. Like everywhere else but America, we're a big part of like the festival scene.
I saw some internet stories today about the Philippines and you guys coming. Did you catch that?
I don't know what the stories are, but we are going to the Philippines, yeah.
They're scared because of the name, Incubus.
We've been there before, though.
There was apparently a text that went viral of people who were fearing you guys coming back to the Philippines.
Fearing. I love that. Was there any loathing as well?
There might be some loathing in there.
That would be awesome. No, we've played the Philippines twice, I think. Has it been 2 times, the Philippines? Anybody?
What's that?
Brandon, we've been to the Philippines twice now?
Oh, yes. All right.
2 times. Have you heard anything about this text that went viral where the Filipinos are fearing our return?
They're fearing, well, I don't know if it's fear. They keep sending emails, are we really coming?
No, Brandon was saying that there are...
Look it up.
They're fearing that we're coming?
They're fearing because
Because of the name,
because of the
Incubus.
Oh, no. No, it's going to be 9,000 people love fest.
That's awesome. How cool would that be, though, if besides the 9,000 people that are at the show, like all like having this big sort of love-in kind of a thing
There's like a
outside,
protest.
not even protest, people are like, oh my God, what's going on in there? I'm scared.
Absolutely. You guys are pretty scared. So I'm curious, as a fan too, though, you were talking about other bands and cool bands and all that stuff. What are you listening to right now? And was there any influences from anything current that went into the new album?
I don't think anything current, no. There's not a lot of current influence in this record that I could really knowingly identify, off the top of my head at least. I'm sure there's some unconscious regurgitating at play, as there always is. I know some of the stuff that we were directly referencing is definitely not current.
Well, what about just stuff you're listening to right now?
I've been listening to... I've been getting this question a lot recently, and so, which is fine. But what's funny is that I haven't been listening to a lot of, like, a large diversity of new music right now. I've been listening to, like, probably 3 records, and I've been saying them over and over again. And so I'll say them again, but I'm just saying that, like, if it comes out across that I might be obsessed with these bands, it's like, they're awesome, but it's just that I get asked this question a lot. I've been listening to a band called Bright Black Morning Light. Have you heard of them?
No.
Kind of neat. My girlfriend loves them too. There's a band called Hammock that we've both been listening to a lot, which is beautiful music. And then we've been listening to Tibetan singing bowls.
Interesting.
Like just to, meditate with and fall asleep to or wake up to, like that kind of a thing. Have not really been absorbing a lot of, I guess what you would call popular culture music. Heard some stuff when we were in Europe a couple weeks ago. What's going on in like the pop world, and so I heard it. Listening to it, I wouldn't say, but I definitely came privy to it.
I want to ask about the Promises video. Came out great.
Thank you.
Brantley, correct?
No, that's Brantley
did
directed the Adolescence video.
I was going to say, Brantley's been doing a ton with you guys, it seems like.
We love Brantley. He's a great photographer. He's making some awesome music videos. Look out for him in the film world, probably in the near future, I'm sure. Brantley directed Adolescence, and Price James directed the video for Promises.
Got it.
He's the first we'd never met him before. I read his treatment and I really liked how he there was a confidence in his treatment, and there's a confidence in his sort of his style of video making that you can kind of see just in his catalog of stuff that he's done. And I'd never even met him, but I read the treatment. I was like, this guy's awesome. He's going to make a really cool video, you know. So he's an awesome guy. I think it came out really good too.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything you want to add?
No. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, good to be here. All right. I think we're good.
Cool. Honestly, those are bitchin' shoes.